Hey everyone, my name is Riley, and in this video, I'm going to show you step by step how to use the calendar feature in system.io. I will first of all show you how to set up and use the calendar feature. I will then show you how you can connect this to Calendly, Google Meets, or any other video conferencing platform. And then I will show you how you can put your calendar into any funnel or page of your choice. Now, before we jump in, if you want to get access to my free system.io funnel pack that includes done for you funnel templates, done for you email sequences, a full beginner training for system.io, and my 1K in 30 days blueprint that shows you step by step how you can make your first 1K in your online business in the next 30 days. You can get access to this for completely free using the link in the description. Okay, so jumping into system.io, to access the calendar feature, we want to come up here to CRM and then click into the calendar right here. Inside of the calendar tab, there are 3 sub-tabs. So we have events right here. This is going to show you all of the different calendar events that you have. And events are essentially the different calendars that we have. So let's say, for example, that we are an Instagram coach. We teach people how to grow on Instagram. One of our events might be a discovery call to actually sell people on the call and see if they are a good fit. That's like our sales calls. And then the second type of event that we might create is, once they are actually in the program, the ability for them to then go ahead and book coaching calls with us. So these are events, they will all show up right here. We then have the bookings tab, and this is going to show us all of the bookings that we have on our calendar, all of our upcoming calls. And then over here, we have the availability. So this is where we can set our working hours and days for the calendar when we are available to take calls. So in here, this is the very first place that we are going to start out. The first thing that we want to do is set our availability. So I'm going to go down here and I'm going to check off Monday to Friday as I'm available on all of these days. And then we can go ahead and enter in the times that we are available. So let's say we can take calls from between 9 to 5 Monday to Friday. We can go ahead and set these right here. And then I'm going to go ahead and do the same for all of these different days. Now, another cool feature that we can do in here is adding a time slot. So let's say that we are available from 9 to 5, but at 12 o'clock, we take a lunch break. We don't want to be taking calls from 12 to 1 because this is when we go to get lunch. So what we can do in here is we can actually add a time slot and we can block off certain hours. So we can go in here and I would set this between 9 a.m. and 11 a.m. for the first slot. And then after this is going to be between 1 p.m. to 5 p.m. And the reason that I've set it up like this is because let's say these calls are 1 hour long. Well, this last call right here at 11 is going to go from 11 till 12. And then I can have my lunch at 12. Then we can come back at 1 p.m. and we can take calls till 5 p.m. But I'm just going to remove this. That was just an example. And just to make this easy, we'll be available between 9 to 5 every single day. We can save this, and then over here on the right hand side, what we can also do is we can set specific availability and set specific unavailability. So with the unavailability, this is going to be the main one that we will be focusing on, because this is going to say if you have a vacation booked or if we have like national holidays, we'll want to go ahead and we don't want to be taking calls on these dates. So a very easy one just to immediately go ahead and block off is December 25th. We can click into this and let's say let's go Christmas Eve all the way through to the New Year. We can click on apply. And now nobody will be able to book calls between these dates. Now, a date-specific availability is when you want to override your hours, but you're actually going to be more available on these dates. So let's say for some reason that tomorrow, even though it's not on my calendar, I am actually going to be available from 9 to 5 tomorrow, but not every Saturday. Most Saturdays I want blocked off, but tomorrow we can actually take calls. So we can go in here, we can once again set this to 9 to 5, just like that. And if I click on save, we now have the main hours that we can work, but I can also work on Saturday. This Saturday is going to override this unavailable. And I'm unavailable on all of these dates between Christmas Eve and New Year's. So once we have created our availability, we can now go over and we can create our first calendar event. So I'm going to stick in the niche of Instagram coaching. And the first event that I'm going to set up is a discovery call or a sales call to actually get people into the program. So the way that we create a new event is we go to create an event right here, and we can choose if this is an individual event or a group event. Now, an individual event means that this can only be booked by one person. So this is perfect for like discovery calls or coaching calls, like one-on-one coaching calls, things like this. And then a group event is where multiple people can book the same time slot. So if you are doing group coaching or a mastermind, this is where you will want to go for a group event. But as this is a discovery call, we can set this up as an individual event, and we can then go in and we can create our calendar event. So in here, I'm going to go up and let's call this Instagram Mastery Discovery Call, just like this. We can then set the host name to, let's go Riley Holden, just like this. We can then set the event duration, so 30 minutes is pretty solid for a discovery call. We can set the host photo right here. By default, this is going to be your system profile picture, but we can click into this and we can change this if you would like. We can then go down and we can choose the location where you would like to host this meeting. So the main one that most people will be using is an online meeting right here. And as you can see, we have three different options. We have Zoom, we have Google Meet, and we have external link. Now, the main two, of course, are going to be Zoom and Google Meet, but these are grayed out right now because we need to go ahead and we need to integrate both of these platforms with system.io before we can actually use these. Now, if you use another meeting platform outside of Zoom or Google Meet, what you can do is go to external link right here. You can go to whichever conferencing platform that you are using, grab the meeting link that you use and simply paste it into here. But because Zoom and Google Meet are the main two, I'll show you how to do that now. So what we want to do in here, because we haven't completed this yet, but we do have a little bit of information, we do want to go ahead and save this. So what we can do is we can just add a phone number for now, and then we can come back and change this once we have our conferencing platform connected. So in here, I'm just going to go ahead and enter my phone number, and we can click on save. And now this will allow us to save and preview. So to integrate the video conferencing platforms, we just want to go up to your profile icon and click here into settings. And then down here on the left-hand side, we have the integrations tab. So we can click in, we can see Google Meet and we can see Zoom. So whichever one of these you are using, I'll just use Google Meet in this example. We just want to click into this, manage calendar integration, and then we can connect. And this is going to take us over to Google or Zoom. So we just want to go ahead and log into our account right here. And just like that, this is now going to be connected. So very easy to integrate these up. Once we have your video conferencing platform integrated, we are once again going to come to CRM and go into the calendar, click into the event that we were just creating. And now we can switch this from the phone over to the online meeting. And we can see that our chosen video conferencing platform is now available. So we can go ahead and click on save. We can also go ahead and turn off the phone if you are not going to be having phone calls. But this is two things that I do need to cover as well. Maybe you aren't using an online meeting. If you are using the phone, you can enter your phone number in right here and people will be able to just call you. If this is an in-person meeting, we can go to personal, enter the address that they will be meeting you at, as well as the phone number. And that's how we can set this up. Then we can come down to the description right here. And this is going to show up on the calendar booking page. So we just want to type in a quick description of what this actually is. So we can go ahead and say maybe a 30-minute one-on-one session. I just described what this is and what they are getting out of this call. We can then go down. If you're using Google Calendar, of course, we'll want to add this to the calendar. And then under availability, this is by default going to use the availability that we just set up. So this is absolutely perfect. We've already set this up, and that's why we set this up beforehand. Up here, this is very important. We can choose the date range that people are available to book it. So what I would recommend is we don't really want to be pushing this more than 30 days out. If you do, you're going to get a lot more no-shows. So I think allowing people to book a maximum of 30 days out is absolutely perfect. And then right here, we can choose how long before the meeting starts must people book this. So let's go in, and I think 2 hours is absolutely perfect. This gives us enough time to prepare. We can then go down and we can choose the start time increments. So every 30 minutes, people can be able to book this. So at like 9 o'clock, 9:30, 10 a.m., 10:30, you get the idea. And we can push this up if you want. So that is the increments. We can then choose the daily limit on how many calls you want to be able to book in here. I always set this to 5 because more than 5 calls a day is absolutely crazy. And then down here, finally, we have the buffer time. So what I recommend is just setting this to 30 minutes. And that way you don't have back-to-back calls because that's just not very fun for anybody. So we can set that to 30 minutes right there. And then once we have all of this set up, we just want to go to the top, save and preview, and then we can see our calendar right here. So we can go ahead and we can exit out of this, and we now have the event created. So now that we have this set up, we want to be able to embed this on our chosen funnel page. So to do this, we are just going to come over to Sites and Sales Funnels, and then select the funnel that we want to add this to. So I'm just going to go ahead and add this to my lead magnet funnel right here. It doesn't really make sense to add a calendar to this page, but this is just to show you. And then you want to make sure that you are adding the calendar to a squeeze page, as you can't add calendars to any other types of pages. So we can go to a squeeze page right here. We can click on edit page. And then on this squeeze page, let's just add the calendar right here. So the first thing that I'm going to do is just add in a new section for this. And then we can go down to the form field right here. We can grab the calendar and we can go ahead and drop this in. So right here, we can see the calendar is loading up. We can click into the calendar right here, and we can start editing this. So we have the headline and we have the subheadline. So let's go ahead and say, book your discovery call. Just like that. We can choose the time format. We can choose what this button says at the bottom. So next step is perfect. In here, we can choose the event that we want to use. So if you have multiple events for different calendars, you can select that right here. And then of course, we can go down, select the color and all of these different things. So that is the first page right there. This is the calendar. We can then go over to the form, and this is going to ask people for their information. And if we want to ask additional questions on this field, we can go in and do this. So for question 1, we can maybe go ahead and say, what is your current Instagram following? Okay, so enter your follower count here. We can then add another question. I also like to make these mandatory. We can say, why do you want to grow on Instagram? You get the idea. We can add all of these different questions into this area. And then finally, we can select the thank you page right here. We can choose if we want to redirect them, if we just want them to stay on this page. We can add a subheadline if we want to, but this already looks absolutely fantastic. So from here, we can just go ahead and click save, and we now have this embedded onto this page. So now that we have this connected, what we can do is we can copy the URL, we can open this up in a new tab, and then we can go through and we can test this out. We can say, let's say tomorrow at 2 o'clock. We want to go ahead and book a call. So I'll go ahead and I will enter in all of my information in here. And then once that is filled in, we can click on submit. We get the booking confirmation right here. But the main thing that we want to do to test that this is working is go to calendar right here. We can then go to bookings and we can see perfect. We now have this booking added in. So we can see the date, we can see the time, we can see the session duration, who this is with. And then what we can also do is we can view this from the client side. So because the email that I entered in when filling out this form was my email, I can actually see right here that I get this confirmed. I have a discovery call. This is through Google Meets right here. And this is what your client will receive when they book a call. So that is how you can use the calendar feature on system.io. If you do want to grab my free system.io funnel pack, the one that includes the done-for-you funnel templates, the done-for-you email sequences, the video training, and my super simple guide to your first $1,000 with system.io, that is also available down in the description. Now, hopefully you've found this video valuable. If you did, don't forget to smash that like button and tap that subscribe button. And until next time, take it easy.